That's what I call pro talk. When you really don't know the answer, you just make it up.
My rut is that I am in a rut.
To get the pilot of Red Arrow going. This is really a way to skip class.
I want to say, hey, those boys right there are entertainers.
There you go. That's the nicest thing anybody's ever said on this podcast.
Alex Rutledge here with American Roots Outdoors TV.
Hey, this is Lee and Tiffany Lukoski from the Crush TV.
Hi, I'm Don Higgins.
This is Jeff Lindsay.
Hey, everybody, this is Mark Drury with Drury Outdoors.
Hey, this is Craig Fitz of Trained Assassins TV. You're listening to Dave and JP on Pro Talk Outdoors, the craziest two I know.
Hey everybody, another episode of Pro Talk Outdoors about to hit your headphones, or at least it already has, and hope you guys are enjoying everything we've done this season. We've changed a lot of things up. We're doing more conservation focused things. We've even got a spin-off now called Diving Deep. Obviously we launched In a Rut last fall, and man, things are just gearing up. More momentum coming in each facet of this thing. We get busier and busier and busier, and lately the topic of conversation and the main activity has been getting all the food plots in the ground. And obviously we've got an awesome set of resources with Real World Wildlife products, so we decided to diversify those and came up with a pretty intense plan for our Kentucky property, which really was the most versatile in terms of ground to plant.
Yeah, we obviously went over and when we got the property last year was the first year we hunted it, food plotted it, or any of that stuff, and it was quite an undertaking. Had several. Well, I'm going to call it 5 acres. Let's call it 5 acres up top there. It's pretty close to that, maybe a little bit more, but it was just really tall, full of a lot of sagebrush, some Johnson grass. Just a lot of different types of stuff. Great cover for the deer, but there was zero food. I mean, zero food within miles almost. I mean, probably 3/4 of a mile to a mile maybe to the west they could find some food in some ag fields, but other than that, there's nothing there other than your native browse and some
and they had
some mast crop.
A lot of hills and hollers to cross to get to that food.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and we really didn't have anything on the property to hold the deer there, so we obviously did, the best we could last year, and we cleared some ground and got some food plots there. But this year, we really just doubled down on it, and every square foot of available tillable, we went ahead and we got some beans in the ground there.
Yeah, and the thing we ran into last year was we have a really healthy population of deer in that area. I believe, at least, and we can't say this for certain because we don't live around there and talk to all the neighbors and things, but I perceive there to be a pretty low hunter density, which is in most respects a good thing for us, and as long as the populations are managed, it's probably a good thing for the populations. However, with that high number of deer, we ran into heavy browse pressure.
Yeah, last year we put out, I would say at most 1.5 acres, 2 acres or so of that.
And that was
we
not enough.
Put beans out, and man, they just got hammered. They got flat out mowed down. Yeah. Never did reach maturity. We were able to come back with the Deadly Dozen over top of that in the fall, and and we had some food there for them. We had a good fall because of that. There was plenty of food there, but we just didn't have any kind of grains at all. And
right.
So this year we kind of transferred those Deadly Dozen plots over into clover, frost seeded those at the beginning of the year, which now they look beautiful. There's a really good stand of clover already, which is kind of amazing because it was a frost seed in the first year, and it's already up and doing really well. But we did some things with everything else, every other available acre we had up there. We went through and we did a hard spray, and what I call a hard spray is, it wasn't just a glyphosate or a Roundup. It was also a 2,4-D. We do both so you can kill off, your broadleaves, your grasses, everything. We wanted to spray it hard, kill everything off we could. But before we did that, I went ahead and cut it. I wanted to cut it down to so we could try to get as much of that chemical into those plants as possible.
Yeah, you don't want a canopy is what you're saying. You didn't want that canopy to just get some of it and protect some of the things underneath.
Yeah, and also, and I don't know that I'm 100% right on this, okay, but the thought is there, when you cut that plant, when you go through and you mow it down, what you're doing is you're creating a growth stage for that plant so it can regenerate and start growing quicker. Instead of that growth happening, though, we're introducing that chemical to it, so it's going to kill it off quicker. Going to get down into the root system a little faster versus being up top, at the ends where it's not as active a growth stage. So, you're going to go ahead and kill that off that way the best you can. We did that, and then I came back and I mowed it again just to get all that dead stuff off the top that we could, and then we came in after that and drilled our beans.
Yeah, and I was really, really fortunate to spend a lot of time on the back of that planter riding around. I really enjoyed that, but it's so cool to sit at that vantage point on the no-till drill behind the tractor and see all that stuff go in the ground. It's one thing to stand, by the truck or whatever and monitor things or be the guy driving the tractor, but sitting on the back of that, literally watching the seed go from the center portion of the planter down through and straight into the ground, it's really cool.
It is. It really is pretty neat, and a lot of guys listening to this probably, they have a farm background maybe or have done a lot of planting, and
exactly.
They're like, that's kind of boring, but,
the most I ever grew was tomatoes. I would have a garden, and I was hit or miss on if that was any good. So until I started, doing all this stuff, what did I know about it?
It's really, really cool to be able to drill your beans, but that's not the only way to plant these food plots or these beans. I mean, you could go through and disc the ground up or till it up, go through and broadcast those beans, and then run over it with something, a drag or a cultipacker or something.
Yeah, I did that last year on a farm, and they turned out great. I mean, there's more than one way to go about it, but I tell you, the other thing that I'm really excited about is the screen that we planted on the edge of all that.
Yeah, we sure did, and we looked at different options of what we could do, and we decided to go with some sorghum Sudan, and it's stuff that grows pretty quick. We're going to have probably a 5, 6, maybe even probably 6 foot screen around. We basically
just more than enough for you and I.
Yeah, we basically quartered it off. I mean, everywhere that we had a lane or somewhere to walk in for access points to tree stands, we went ahead and put a screen on each side of that lane, so we're going to be able to walk in and out undetected. The only issue there is, I'm sure the deer are going to use those lanes as well.
Sure.
They're going to be using those a lot. But the thought is to make it as secure as possible so those deer feel comfortable to get out there and feed in more daylight hours. Instead of waiting until dark to come out there, they're going to get out there a little earlier because they've got that sense of security.
As silly as it sounds, perception is 90% of reality. So if that deer perceives that it's safe 30 minutes earlier than it normally would be because of a plot screen, then hey, that could play right into our hands. So I'm excited over everything that's going on over there. Obviously, we were new to the property. We wanted to see how it hunted, and really we were newer to this kind of thing. Every year you get more of this planting and food plot season under your belt. I have to think the better you're going to be at it.
Yeah,
just like anything else.
Yeah, and I got to credit Wyatt for that a lot, with the screening, because he came up with the idea of the sorghum Sudan for the screen, and we did a lot of that over there on on a couple of his farms.
Bringing that Sudan up, it might be worth mentioning to viewers or listeners there how much maintenance is involved with sorghum Sudan, if any.
None.
I don't know of any. Do you?
None. Just make sure it doesn't get cut. I mean, that's the risk, because here's the thing, switchgrass is one way to go, and we planted a lot of switchgrass as well, but it's more or less not a screen type thing when you plant switchgrass. You want to plant bigger size
more of a bedding
plots
thing.
Of that because you want to have some security cover there for bedding. So, we put a few acres of that out as well. But, if you're talking just screen, you want something to hide you, give you some good access in and out, make the deer feel comfortable. But, the thing is like, and I'll give you an example on one of, the farms that Wyatt and Todd hunt. You have, it's ag fields all around. Mm-hmm. So, they went through and they planted those screens. The worry is that the farmer, without good communication, may come through and bush hog, just to clear the edges of the field. Well, he may see that sorghum Sudan 4 foot tall and not realize what was going on there and go ahead and try to bush hog that down. So that's something, a good communication factor has to be there to make sure that you don't waste all that valuable effort. And I mean, that'd be heartbreaking to have your screen get about 4 foot tall and, you're a month and a half away from season and all of a sudden it gets whacked down because the farmer doesn't realize what was going on there.
Yeah, and I would have to think that's a struggle that a lot of guys are going to run into because not everybody has the luxury to sit and own hundreds of acres in which they're the one that does all that. And if they do have that luxury, they're probably working their butt off turning crops out as a farmer and worry a heck of a lot less about this kind of thing. So really valid point you make there. But the other thing leading up right now, we're in June, and a lot of TV video-based series are going to release in just a couple months. So
yeah, I think it's actually going to be less than that. I think, we had Mark Drury on just a week or two ago or whatever it was, and July 3rd, I think, is when their show starts to air.
Some people try to make it a little different and release theirs even earlier, or time it differently.
Usually it's the end of June, beginning of July, something like that. Usually is when those things kind of hit, and we're probably going to have some hitting not too far from that ourselves.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. We've got a guest you might want to listen to, somebody with a production background centered in one of the better shows that I think is out right now. Really interesting way that they produce their show, and really enjoyable if you can get behind a lot of good footage. We'll be back. You're listening to Pro Talk Outdoors.
Wicked Tree Gear, Glacier Coolers. An outstanding giveaway that is going on throughout the summer here. Whitetail Heaven Outfitters is a tremendous outfitter. They've got operations in I know in Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, and they've got some spring turkey stuff down in Florida as well. But definitely the Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana whitetail operation is second to none, first class all the way. If you place an order online through Wicked Tree Gear or Glacier Coolers, anytime between June 11th or July 13th, you're going to be entered for a giveaway, a prize package worth nearly $4,000 in a hunt and $1,000 a year. Again, that's a free giveaway. All you have to do is go online, place an order with Wicked Tree Gear or Glacier Coolers, and you're going to be entered to win a free hunt. It's a muzzleloader hunt plus $1,000 worth of gear. And remember, when you go to checkout, use the promo code PROTALK, PROTALK, for an additional 20% off on that purchase. So it's a win-win. Going to get 20% off, get some great gear, and also be entered to win a fantastic hunt with Whitetail Heaven Outfitters.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Pro Talk Outdoors, and just like we teased in the open, we've got a guy who is 100% focused on putting the best possible production out. He's not as focused on doing anything in front of the camera. He's just worried about getting it done off the camera and let that other stuff take care of itself. And we want to welcome to the show Dylan Lenz of the Breaking Point TV. We've had Brennan on this show before. Dylan, thank you so much for coming on and showing us who the brains is behind that operation.
Thank you guys so much. I'm really honored to be on this show, and I would hardly call myself the brains of this operation.
Well,
but been fortunate enough to kind of find my sweet spot behind the camera, I guess you could say.
Sure. No, I get it, man. And I mean, being a point guy on production like you are, you're going to have some great insight into some things that guys do in the summer just to get enough B-roll for when that show is produced after harvest.
Yeah, and I feel like that's something that a lot of people don't understand, is this story is a year-round, ongoing, fluid story from year to year. It doesn't necessarily have to start one year, end another year. I mean, you guys know just as well as anyone else that a lot of times we're chasing, these animals and telling stories for years.
Right. And that's kind of what I wanted to focus on and ask you about today, is just this time of year is so different. Guys either just got their plots in and have a couple weeks before they need to spray, or they're getting their plots in right now. Obviously those are things you're filming, but in this time of year, it seems like you're going to have some days where maybe you have some flexibility to go film something that you otherwise wouldn't normally film. So are there little projects or little side things or just tasks that you ask the guys to do this time of year to make sure that your show is great?
Yeah, I mean, we really don't ask guys to, do anything that they wouldn't normally. But, I mean, food plots, seed hitting the ground, putting in water holes, hanging stands, even last year we did a segment where we were, making brats out of venison from the year before. So it's just being able to kind of fully encompass yourself as an outdoorsman and how that relates to, your fall and deer hunting, and kind of, getting every aspect of it. And I think that's the main thing when it comes to this time of year, is telling those stories that, aren't the headline come fall.
And one of the things I've noticed and appreciate about your show is the different ways that you guys try to use your B-roll and some of the angles you throw in. What kind of specific things are you asking these guys to target when they go after the seed hitting the ground? Are you wanting a particular thing in focus and out of focus, or what are you generally looking for?
We leave that open to our guys. I mean, each of our guys behind the camera has a different style, and I think that really helps when you watch each episode. They don't all look the same. And so, you see, we let our guys kind of, have their way with the footage. It's a matter of having enough footage that really helps us out. So that's kind of what we stress is, hey, make sure you're hitting that record button a lot while you're out there today, not just setting the camera on a tripod and then letting it roll while you guys are out there throwing seed. We want to get those angles up close and, get the feel like you're really there.
Dylan, I want to back it up a little bit, man.
Sure.
Tell me how in the world you guys got hooked up together, you, Brennan, Mike, everybody. What's the backstory there?
It's pretty interesting because I had never touched a camera before, a professional camera, before I met Mike. And I went to the University of Stevens Point, as did Mike and Brennan. They were a couple years ahead of me, and I had never met either of them. But I actually got hooked up with Mike through a bouncer named Brandon. I got to give him a shout-out.
A bouncer at a bar?
A bouncer at a bar.
Man, yep, I like this. I like where this story's going.
I frequented a spot in Stevens Point and always talked to the bouncer about hunting and fishing and that sort of thing. And he had filmed for Mike a few times and was actually leaving Mike for a couple weeks to go on a duck hunt. And Mike needed a guy. He was in a pinch. Brandon knew that I knew how to run a camera, or that I had the eye for it, I guess you could say. So he hooked me up. Mike actually met me out at his property. We threw at that time it was a big video camera on a tree arm, and he strapped it to a telephone pole to give me the run through, and that was my crash course. And we hopped in a tree, and man, I fell in love with it ever since, and haven't looked back. I was just in awe in the tree playing with that camera all night, and really got me hooked.
Wow.
That's a pretty awesome way to get your foot in the door and start that out. How many years ago has that been for you? Is that 5 years?
Oh boy, or? That's got to be 4.5, 5 years ago now. And yeah, I mean it's come a long way. I mean, we were using big big video cameras back then, and our gear has really changed. And I think I've learned quite a bit since then too.
So what's your gear choice now?
We stick to, I would say, mostly DSLR cameras and a variety of lenses, and we throw in all different kinds of production gear when it comes to getting shots, as far as using gimbals and drones, and just trying to I wouldn't say stay a step ahead, but at least stay diverse when it comes to filming.
Sure. And part of that vision, is that changing all the time, or do you think you're going to have a consistent vision, just change the way it's presented over the course of the years?
Oh man, I think if you would watch our season 1 stuff versus our season 5 stuff that'll be coming out in August, you'll see it's constantly evolving. Our style has definitely shifted since we made the shift to online distribution, and our camera stuff has just evolved, and our shots have evolved over the years as we kind of know what we like, what we don't like, and how those shots and those stories are told.
I'll say this. I mean, this I could be off base, and maybe I'm going to say something that you're not really going for here, but it seems to me like if I watch season 1 through season 4, it seems like there was a shift somewhere along the line there of, you guys were kind of filming things like I don't know if I want to call it the industry standard, kind of just doing things the way everybody did things.
Yep.
And now it's like you got your own style. You're kind of you're kind of a pace setter now and doing things the way you guys want to do it versus the way everyone expects things to be done.
Definitely. And I think that a lot of shows out there idolize other shows, and we were definitely a show from day one that really idolized some other shows on Outdoor Channel, Sportsman Channel, and wanted to be them. And as we kind of started to get our footing, I guess you would say, we kind of said, you know what, why are we trying to be something that we aren't? Let's just do this the way that we want to do it, tell the stories that we want to tell them. And that's kind of how we've found our style, I would say.
I got to mention this too, because I totally respect this. It's often I see you guys celebrating sometimes afterwards, and there's a few cold beverages cranked open or whatever. I mean, do you get any pushback on that from anybody? Like whether it be viewers or sponsors or anything like that?
Before I get into that, I got to say I'm looking at a beer right here, and I was afraid to open it. Now that the
crack it
pressure's
open,
off,
man.
I'm going to crack it open.
I heard it. That's awesome.
Here I'm kicking myself like I should have opened that before I answered the call. But no, it's not like we've had any pushback, and we do it responsibly. We're not the guys that are out there getting drunk every night and then, crawling into a tree stand hungover. We like to have a beer or two after the hunt and just unwind and have a good time. We're not, taking it to a whole nother level. We really just, I think most other hunters could relate to that, where we're just really a bunch of guys that like enjoying the camaraderie at deer camp. And fortunately, that includes cold beverages now and then.
Is it you a craft beer guy, a light beer guy? What's your thing?
We're really not picky. It's kind of funny because, I would say our staple beer is Busch Light, but, every now and then I know Mansell will throw in a wow case of something that all of us are like, why did he buy that? But, we're not too fancy. We're cheap beer drinkers.
Sure. Well, part of all this is making sure you have fun with it, or just keep it fresh and keep it light. If it's too much, if anything is too much like work, you're really not going to enjoy it, because at the end of the day, you're trying to escape your full-time occupation. Most people aren't fortunate enough to do this kind of thing as their full-time gig.
Right.
I at least that's how I look at it. I know Dave's probably the same way. It's a labor of love. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, us staying light with it is what makes us relatable to other people. We aren't the guys that are going to come and, tell things as if we have authority. We're really just hunters at the end of the day, just like everybody else that watches our content. We fail all the time, and sometimes we succeed. And when we do succeed, it's not like, we're standing there going, oh, it's because we did this, it's because we did that, we knew this was going to happen. It's, at the end of the day, it's luck as much as you want to, weigh it. You can put in all the work you want, but at the end of the day, it takes a lot of luck, and we've been very fortunate to have some luck.
Well, speaking of luck, I'm assuming Season 5 is going to have a lot of really, really good stuff. And without spoiling too much, how much can you share about the luck you guys did or didn't have last year?
It's the same. It's the same as every year. There's highs and lows, and we had a very fortunate year with some very high highs. We traveled all over the country. We've a couple different kinds of animals. We have a couple black bears. Hit the ground. Did some out-of-state hunting for mule deer and a lot of whitetail. Actually, we had one of our guys, Chad, killed a great moose. That's going to be an episode as well. So without giving away too much, I think, there's a lot of diverse stuff coming, and we're excited to share it.
We're looking forward to seeing it, man. I got to ask you this question here, too. Now, you guys are Sitka guys, right?
We are.
Okay.
We certainly are, and we're very thankful of that.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I imagine. I know, we're not with Sitka, but we might as well be. I think we're all wearing Sitka.
We're all converting our entire gear closet into that.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely.
We're taking out second and third mortgages on the house and everything.
Yep.
We're getting invested. But have you seen the Stratus bibs yet? The new Stratus bibs?
I have seen them. I have not worn them yet, and that is a piece that I know I'm jacked about, and I know for a fact Brennan is super jacked about. He's been wanting those in bibs since he had the Stratus pants a few years ago.
Well, let me ask you this then. To you, and I'm sure you could probably speak for Brennan, what is the big benefit wearing the bib versus the separate jacket and pant?
I look at it as if, if you're sitting in a tree stand and you're bending and twisting, there's a little potential for some air to come up, if you're wearing pants. And that's why, once the temperatures dip down a little bit, I'm a bib guy through and through because I don't want any cold spots. I'm
no
a guy
plumber crack. Zero plumber crack.
Exactly. And, bibs, they just fit well. It's, they keep you warm through and through. And that's what I love about them. And, we've been fortunate enough to be partnering with Sitka. And I know there's a lot of sits that we make it through, especially in late season North Dakota, that I don't know that we'd be excited to sit in them if we weren't sitting in Sitka.
Oh, no doubt about it. Now, one thing I've wanted to ask about the Stratus set of other folks that wear it, and I talked to Wyatt. He's worn Sitka gear for years, so a guy on our team is kind of my resident expert. But I'll ask you this question. What temperature range would you see the Stratus system really fitting in for you?
You know, and I do a lot of trade shows with Sitka. You know, if we do, I guess consumer shows, I would say, you know, Deer Turkey Expos, the Field and Stream shows, and that's a set that I recommend to most guys that are looking for an all-around piece or a set. You know, it's good from, I would say, you know, when you're starting to get a little bit of cool temperatures in early October up through, you know, you can push them into mid-November if you're layering properly underneath them. And the great thing about it is the wind stopper that they have.
Game changer.
Wind, like, yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, stops wind right in its tracks. So, you know, those cold November mornings, if you're layered up a little bit under them, you're warm. And then when it gets, you know, 11 o'clock at noon and the temperatures start to rise, you're not sweating too bad. So that's what I love about the Stratus set.
Yeah, I'll say this about the Stratus set. I don't think I've ever talked about this on the show, but, like, this is what made me a believer. Because I'll be the first one to say, like, you know, when everybody started talking about Sitka, I'm like, no way, man. No way I'm going to invest that much money in camo. But really, it's not much of an investment when you think about how quality they are and how long they're going to last.
And lifetime warranty.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, they're just built like no other. But, yeah, so I had this really thick nose jammer hoodie on that I love. You know, I mean, I would wear it out all the time, and it, you know, I felt like it was always warm. Well, you know, it was a real windy day, and I was wearing that hoodie, and my buddy Todd, you know, who's on our team as well, he said, well, here, just this will sell you on the Sitka Stratus pattern, so or outfit. So I put a vest on, and I just walked outside. And it was like my arms were freezing still, but my core was completely warm. And I thought, man, I'm sold. So yeah, I got everything. I got the whole Stratus outfit minus the bibs.
They got you.
Well, there's actually folks that just released that bib set for sale over the weekend. I don't know if anybody's
I don't know if they're shipping or not though. I think they're pre-selling. Do you know anything about that, Dylan?
I do not, and you know, I can tell you right now, I'm going to be looking that up as soon as this phone call's over.
I don't even know if I want to spoil the name of where it's at then.
But if you look,
you're going to sell them out pretty quick.
All you got to do is Google them online there, but they're not on the Sitka site actually yet. But you can get it on, like, there's other sites that, you know, that sell Sitka clothing that, you know, they've got it on there for sale, and you can go ahead and order. But I don't know if it's a pre-order or if they've already got them or not. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be. It could be a pre-order. You know, I'm not sure, and I'm certainly not an official on that. But I know a lot of their whitetail stuff that is not on the site will be come July or very soon thereafter, and then it will be available as well. So they actually have a couple new pieces coming out for the whitetail line that I'm definitely excited to get my hands on and try out this fall.
Any of that you can share, or you got to keep that under your hat?
You know, I believe it's been released. It was all at ATA, so I would imagine it's all safe. I guess maybe I shouldn't talk about it just to cover my butt, but yeah, no, all I can say is, you know, when July comes around, be looking for new stuff from Sitka, because I took a look at it and I'm excited to put it on this fall.
Let me ask you this. Okay, so we're gonna be hunting September 1st in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Warm weather. What should I be getting? What pattern should I go with? What gear should I go with Sitka?
You know, I know that they're coming out with an early season. It's actually called ESW, Early Season Whitetail line. It's just a couple pieces. It's very light pants and a very breathable light shirt as well. I've been wearing Equinox pants and just a crew shirt for early season North Dakota when the temperatures are up in the 80s, 90s. And it's good. It breathes well. But if they're making a lighter piece, I'm going to be jacked to be wearing that.
See, that's why I've got the Equinox pants and jacket and stuff, but that's what I'm thinking. If it's something a little lighter weight, I think that's what I'm going to be all about.
Absolutely. Definitely, without a doubt.
I went and got myself some of the subalpine pattern and some of the more breathable stuff. So I've got like the Apex pant is what I have, and I like that subalpine pattern for like turkey season with all the green, and around here in September it's very, very green. So I feel like I'm all in on subalpine for September.
Definitely, you know, and that's something that, you know, as a whitetail hunter and as an elevated camo guy, I know that, you know, the elevated camo is designed for tree stand wear. No matter what color the leaves are, it's designed to break up your outline. Deer can't see color anyway. But, you know, it's tough to really buy that when you see that subalpine green match so well. But I definitely trust the elevated pattern all fall. That's just what I wear. I imagine it'll work just fine to wear subalpine in a tree, but I'm definitely a guy that just wears the elevated pattern.
Now let me ask you this: you said the ESW, the early season whitetail, is that going to be actually a different pattern like elevated 2, or is it just kind of specific to the material?
It's specific to that material. It's the same elevated pattern, elevated 2 pattern, same color scheme. And like I said before, I mean, that pattern is designed to break up your outline no matter what color the leaves are, the bark is. And, I think that's something that a lot of guys have a hard time buying, or understanding, is, wearing that stuff early season, because it does stand out to the human eye. But I think to the animal's eye, it's been tested and designed to, fool game.
Well, I will say this. I wore my elevated 2 pattern all turkey season. I mean, as green as everything was, yes, I did. I wore it, and I had no problems whatsoever.
That's awesome.
None.
That's very, very cool.
None whatsoever. So, I mean,
do you have a good spring? Did you kill some birds?
Yeah. We had an excellent spring as a group. I started out my season out for the bow opener out in northwest Nebraska, up around the Chadron area. Did I say that right?
Very cool. Chadron,
yeah, up there. Anyway, so yeah, we killed a couple birds up there and with archery gear, and then we're back down in Kentucky, and we killed a couple birds in Kentucky, and then
good for you guys.
Indiana, I think we ended up with, was it 13 altogether or something, which is nothing compared to the smackdown you guys put on them up there in Wisconsin. I mean, my gosh.
Hey, 13 is a pretty darn good number. We were very fortunate to have a pretty good spring as well, and the cards happened to fall in our favor this year. We've had some tough the spring. We've had some tough springs in the past, and this definitely was not one of them for us. We had a great year. It was a lot of fun. Saw a lot of birds flop and got a lot of them on film. So
but you guys pull everything out. Man, you guys pull all the stops out. I mean, complete with like making helmets of that's unreal.
I can't take credit for the Dominator 5000. That is all Mike Mansell's cognitive engineering.
that is phenomenal footage. So anybody listening to this, I don't know if you can Google that, or if it's go to the Facebook page for
if you go to
YouTube
TV. You could look up the breaking points or breaking spring. The beatdown is when we really put the Dominator 5000 to work, and it's something to see. It's something that just to film that happen is pretty incredible, because it fools those birds like you wouldn't believe. I
highly recommend watching that. And I will say this: you mentioned earlier, Dylan, about everybody's got their shows that they watch. They kind of want to emulate a little bit and take some stuff from. I'll tell you right now, straight up, that before our spring kicked off, we were watching Breaking Spring, and we were kind of looking at some of the shots that you guys got and some of the different cool things you guys did, and we were trying to emulate that somewhat. So you kind of incorporate that. Yeah. So
I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's a lot of fun to put together, and it's a lot of fun to film. We really appreciate that. The viewership is greatly appreciated as well. There's a lot of turkey shows out there, and to be one that people seek out and want to watch is something that still surprises me, because I grew up watching turkey shows and wishing that I was on them or producing them, and now to actually have one that has a pretty decent following is awesome.
Well, Dylan, speaking of viewership and people catching all your stuff, before we let you go, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you where everybody can keep up with all the stuff you're doing and pay attention and keep tabs on the release for everything in the fall.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to give the list. It's a growing list. We are in the mindset that we want to put our show where everyone can find it. So we're going to be airing on Facebook, on YouTube, Waypoint TV, Carbon TV, Hunter Vids. All of our episodes will be available on Vimeo. We are looking into airing through Amazon Prime, Roku, and boy, I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. That sounds pretty inclusive, as I'm thinking off the top of my head.
Do you have that written down on the back of your Busch Light can, or how's that working right now?
That's we're trying to get it hammered out as to everywhere we're going to be airing, and that's as far as I can think right now, the list as it stands at the moment.
Well, Dylan, it's been a pleasure, man.
If you can't find their show, there's no excuse for it. You're just not
absolutely
looking.
Yeah, that's the goal. Thank you guys so much for having me. This has been, you guys took a lot of the pressure off. Thank you so much. This is awesome.
No problem, man. We're not good at much, but taking pressure off's one of them. So.
Thank
you, gentlemen.
Hang with us through the break. We'll be back. You're listening to Pro Talk Outdoors. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Pro Talk Outdoors. Big thanks to Dylan for coming on and talking a little bit about how the Breaking Point is produced, some of the things they look for, particularly this time of year, and trying to tell a story that lasts 365 days. And I think that's the best way to put it, and that's something we've all bought into.
Well, I don't know if it's just recently buying into it or anything. I mean, that's a lifestyle, man. It takes that, but especially it's amped up whenever you're producing a show.
No, I don't mean just now buying into it from a perspective of acting and living that way. I'm talking about how the last 365 days or so for us, we've been more focused on telling the whole story from a video perspective.
Yeah, you got that right. Yeah, absolutely. And folks, I got to tell you, it's not easy. So whenever you see a production like the Breaking Point TV puts out there, or Breaking Spring, man, it's a lot of work and effort that goes into that, and it's something that you really you got to sit back and appreciate.
Well, and I think we'd be silly if we didn't take this opportunity to point out that our Dylan, Craig Bowman, is exceptional at what he does for us. I mean, I think he's opened our eyes and ears to a lot of different things, and just sharing his talent with us is pretty awesome. And he's got a very busy job, very busy day job that he manages to carve some time out still on the side to do this kind of stuff, and he's going to have a really busy summer putting some things together. So
we know he's hard at work right now on that, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he comes up with. But as a group, we've done a pretty good job of giving him some good things to work with, so looking forward to seeing what we come up with.
Things are happening fast, man. Hopefully we're going to crank together a really good lineup right in a row of podcast guests for you, and hope you enjoy it, whether you're listening while you mow your yard, take a shower, just chilling in your living room, whatever.
2.5 months.
It's creeping
2.5 months
man.
away, man. We're going to be stick and string in hand.
We're spoiled to be able to hunt Kentucky in September. I'll never cease to believe that it's just an absolute... Well, actually, it's less than that because the whole Tennessee opportunity.
That's the end of August.
Third week of August. There's a three-day window that the state of Tennessee has instituted this year to allow their hunters an opportunity to chase a velvet buck, because their normal season comes in, I think, like the third week of September or maybe the last week after most of them have shed velvet. So those guys finally got some motion, and it's just a short 3-day season, and I'm very fortunate to have a really great friend that lives in Tennessee. He's got access to about 3,000 acres, and he said, man, I would be honored if you'd come down and hunt it with me. So what kind of guy's not going to do that?
Yeah, exactly.
So, man, it's almost here, and we hope you guys follow everything we're into along the way, and we're going to try to keep bringing you good content. Until next time, hook 'em or hunt 'em. Pro Talk Outdoors.
Later, guys.